going on, guys? In today's video we're going to be going through the top 5, in my opinion, the best snakes for beginners in the reptile hobby. Now I must admit, if you are wanting to get into reptiles, get into snakes, and you're looking at snakes and a few lizards as well actually, but you don't like feeding dead rodents, mice, rats, chicks, and you don't like feeding any of that sort of thing to animals, then I must admit snakes and a few species of lizards definitely aren't going to be the ideal pet for you, as most reptiles are carnivores and eat other animals. Snakes especially, their diet consists of mice, rodents, rats. Depending on the species of snakes, if you get, let's say, a more sophisticated diet in some snakes, they'll eat lizards, eggs, other snakes and things like that. So if you aren't willing to feed any rodents or chicks or anything of that sort to any animal, then a snake is not going to do well in your care, because you will not be feeding that animal what it eats out in the wild. But anyways, let's go get straight into the video with number 5. So coming in at number 5, we have the Western Hognose snake. Hognose snakes, when alarmed, typically strike over and over again. However, they don't actually bite you. What they tend to do most is headbutt you with the upturned and pointed nose. Males generally remain quite small and only need a 2 to 2.5 foot enclosure. However, the females, when fully grown, will need at least a 3 foot enclosure. The temperatures should also be around 90 degrees on the warm side, 70 degrees on the cool side. This will provide a good temperature gradient for where the Western Hognose snakes actually come from. They don't require any UV lighting. However, I'd place a heat bulb on the warm side during the day. This will also help towards the day and night cycle if you have some sort of bulb in each one of your reptiles enclosures. The humidity levels for a Western Hognose snake should also remain around about 50 to 60%. So that's it for number 5. Coming in at number 4. So for number 4, we actually have the Mandarin Rat Snake. During the day, rat snakes require a warm basking area. This can be achieved by using a heat bulb at one end of the vivarium to accomplish the required basking temperature of around about 85 to 95 Fahrenheit. I use a 140 watt basking light in a 3 to 4 foot enclosure. Mandarin rat snakes are actually quite beautifully marked. They have some fantastic temperaments and can be easily handled, if not easily accustomed to handling. They can be a little skittish at times. They also come from rocky forests across Asia, so you know, I can picture some quite nice enclosures you can create in biotopes with that. There's no special lighting requirements, but as with all snakes, a UV light can prove beneficial. They do require, however, with them being from Asia, quite a high humidity level at around about 65 to 75%. Now coming in at number 3. So at number 3, we've got the California king snake. Now, king snakes in general tend to be quite common. However, the California king snake tends to be the easiest to care for out of other king snakes. That is just my personal opinion. I'm pretty sure other reptile hobbyists out there will tell you different, but in my opinion, it is the California king snake. The California king snakes have a lifespan of up to 20 years. They aren't bulky nor heavy, so they do tend to look a lot smaller than what they are. They can reach up to around 4 foot in length and only require a 3 foot enclosure minimum, and they don't require any special lighting, and the temperature should remain from 85 Fahrenheit on the warm end to 70 on the cool end, and the humidity should be around 50 to 60%. So now coming in at number 2. So at number 2 we have the ball python. Native to Central and Western Africa, the ball python is quite simply the most popular pet python in the world. Ball pythons are generally a bit shy and spend most of the time hiding, but they make ideal captives because of the small size and are generally friendly and manageable in terms of care. They come in a remarkable array of colours and patterns. Obviously there's a whole different loads of types of morphs for ball pythons. Ball pythons typically live up to 30 years or more. The females can reach 3 to 5 foot, and the male ball pythons can reach around 2 to 3 foot. Now, even though the males are small, I'd still recommend a 4 to 4.5 enclosure, as they are quite wide-bodied snakes. On the warm side of the enclosure, the temperature should range anywhere from 88 to 96 Fahrenheit, and on the cool side it should remain 78 to 80 Fahrenheit. Ball pythons, generally shy, I've already said that. They're quite tame and friendly if accustomed though. The humidity should not fall below 50. It should rather stay at a 55 to 60%. So in terms of ball pythons, you don't want it to fall below 50%. You need to keep an eye on the humidity levels for a ball python. But anyways, let's get into number 1. So at number 1 we have a corn snake, this little guy here. Now, this snake is by far the most common on the list, and used to be the most popular snake in amongst beginners and reptile hobbyists alike. That was until people started catching the eyes on the strike and markings and patterns of the ball python and how easy it was to actually care for a ball python. They can live anywhere from 10 to 15 years and sometimes longer with the proper care. Corn snakes tend to be super friendly and don't mind being handled too much, even if they are not used to handling. They're generally fine once you get them out. I've got one corn snake in an enclosure over there. He does nothing but strike at you, but once you get him out, he's harmless. The snake will also need around about a 3 to 4 foot enclosure once fully grown, as this snake does actually max out around 4 to 5 foot long. But they are narrow bodied, as you can tell here. They aren't overly huge, and you can tell I'm just able to handle them with both hands. As for most snakes on the list, they are literally just a one person handle. You don't need more than one person to handle them. In terms of the temperature for a corn snake, the snake will need 80 to 87 on the warm side and 68 to 75 Fahrenheit on the cooler side. In terms of UV lighting, I'd recommend fitting a 2 to 7% UV light tube on the warm end of the enclosure, and for humidity it should remain a steady 50 to 60%. That's about it really. So yeah, also as for creating temperatures for the snakes on the list, if you just want UV bulbs or bulbs and all that, for creating the temperatures for the snakes on the list, place a heat mat under some ceramic tiles and attach it to a thermostat. Now, depending on the snake, adjust the temperature on the thermostat accordingly. Whatever temperature you adjust it to, that heat mat will no longer go above that temperature that you've set it at. This will also be useful for the heat mat. When the heat mat's there, it'll also be useful for the nighttime cycle. When you do the day and night cycle, the heat mat will kick in once the light's off and remain at that steady temperature with the light off. Basically what it does is, once the lights go off, the heat mat resembles rather the ground, quite warm from being baked in the sun all day. And that's about it. UV light and the bulb needs to go above the heat mat. Obviously UV light if it's recommended, or if you want to put one in. Once everything is set up, make sure that the heat mat is not on at the same time as the light, otherwise it will actually get way too hot in there for your snakes and can prove fatal. Also get a hygrometer to measure the humidity of the enclosures, because humidity is important in terms of helping the snake in shedding and breathing problems. You don't want any of that sort. But yeah, also this list I've give you now is just to give you all an idea of what snake to get if you're wanting to get your first ever snake. Please don't just listen to this and go out and buy one of these. Please, this is to give you an idea. Please do your research before going out and buying a snake. And do as much research as you can. The more research you do, the better. But anyways, that's it for today's video, guys. Like, share, subscribe for more content, and push the bell icon so you're notified for future uploads. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one.